I need to tell you something I've been too afraid to say out loud. Not because it's embarrassing, not because I think people won't believe me, but because saying it out loud makes it real. And for a long time, I wasn't ready for it to be real. I wasn't ready to look at everything that had been happening and call it what it actually was. But I'm ready now. There's a man at my work who won't leave me alone. And I don't mean he's friendly. I don't mean he's socially awkward or just doesn't read the room well. I mean he is always there, watching, waiting, following. I mean 20 messages a day without a single response from me. I mean showing up wherever I am on the floor like it's a coincidence every single time. I mean finding my private Instagram after I told him no. I mean joining my personal game sessions with my closest friends without ever being invited. And I mean, when I finally told him to stop clearly, directly, 3 separate times he told me that my silence was triggering his mental disorders. 3 times. I told him 3 times. And he still didn't stop. If you're watching this, hit the subscribe button and let me know where you're watching from, because what happened next will blow your mind. My name is Sarah. I'm 22 years old. I work retail. I live a quiet life. And up until a few months ago, I genuinely believed that if you were just polite enough, patient enough, clear enough, people would respect your boundaries. I believed that communication was always the answer. That if someone was crossing a line, you just had to find the right words, the right tone, the right moment. I don't believe that anymore. Not completely. And that loss, that small, quiet loss of faith in people, is one of the things I'm still grieving. But before I get into what happened, you need to understand something about me. Because without that context, this story might not make complete sense. You might wonder why I didn't just say something sooner, why I kept being polite, why I gave him chance after chance. And the answer to all of those questions is the same. It's who I am. I am not a social person. I have never been a social person. Not in school, not in my first job, not in my second, not anywhere. I don't warm up to people quickly. I don't enjoy small talk, that surface level back and forth that most people seem to do so effortlessly. How was your weekend? Did you catch the game? Oh, you have to try that new restaurant. I've never been able to do that. It feels performative to me. It feels like work. And I already have a job. That doesn't mean I'm cold. It doesn't mean I'm unfriendly or rude or that I think I'm better than anyone. I'll smile. I'll help you if you need something. I'll make eye contact and nod and say, have a good day, and mean it. But that's where it ends for me. Work stays at work. My personal life stays mine. That's a boundary I've kept at every single job I've ever had, and it has always served me well. It has kept me out of drama. It has kept me sane. It has let me come home at the end of the day and actually decompress instead of carrying other people's energy into my space. I have a small group of friends, people I've known for years, people who already know me, already get me, already understand that I'm not going to text back within 30 seconds or show up to every event or remember every birthday. They love me anyway, and I love them. That circle is small on purpose. I built it that way. I protect it. So when I tell you that this man found a way to get inside that circle, inside my games, inside my Instagram, inside my phone, I need you to understand what that means. It wasn't just annoying. It wasn't just uncomfortable. It felt like an invasion. Like someone had walked into my home without knocking and just started looking through my things. That's what this felt like. And it started in November. I'd been job hunting for a while before I found this one. It's a large retail store, the kind with multiple departments, a big floor, and enough staff that you can genuinely go your entire shift without crossing paths with the same person twice. That was one of the things I liked about it when I interviewed. The scale of it felt safe. Anonymous. Almost. Just the way I like things. The first few weeks were exactly what I needed. I clocked in. I learned my section. I kept my head down. I was polite to the people I worked alongside, professional, reliable. I did my job well. And at the end of every shift, I clocked out, got in my car, and drove home without carrying any of it with me. It was clean. Simple. Exactly the kind of arrangement I thrive in. I noticed Daniel before he noticed me, actually. He works in a different department, one that, realistically, has very little reason to cross over into mine. But I'd see him sometimes in the break room or passing through the floor. He seemed fine, normal, the kind of person you nod at and keep moving. And then one day, he stopped. I was restocking a display when I heard footsteps slow down behind me and then stop. I turned around and there he was, smiling. The kind of smile that's a little too wide, a little too ready.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good, I said. You?
Oh, surviving.
I smiled back, turned around, and kept restocking. I thought that was the end of it. But he stayed for another minute. Asked me how long I'd been working there. Asked me which department I was in. Small questions, easy answers. I gave him the shortest version of every response I could without being rude. And eventually, he walked away. I didn't think about it again. People make small talk. That's just how it works. I wasn't going to hold it against him. But then it happened again the next day, and the day after that. Always when I was in the middle of something. Always just a few minutes of nothing conversation. And always he'd linger a beat too long before walking away. Like he was waiting for me to say something that would invite him to stay longer. I never did. Looking back, I think that was the moment he decided to try a different approach. Because one afternoon, he asked me something that changed everything.
So, what are you into? Like, outside of work? What do you do for fun?
I hesitated. It was such a normal question, the kind anyone might ask. And I didn't want to be rude. So I gave him the most surface level answer I could think of. I don't know, video games, I guess. His face completely changed, like I just handed him a key.
Oh, you game? That's awesome. What do you play? Are you on PC or console? Do you have Discord?
And there it was. That moment. The one I've replayed in my head so many times since then. Because here's the thing I knew, somewhere in the back of my mind, that giving him my Discord was not a good idea. I felt it. That small, quiet instinct that I've had my whole life telling me when something isn't quite right. I felt it in that moment as clearly as I've ever felt anything. But I also felt something else. Something I've struggled with my entire life. The overwhelming, almost physical discomfort of saying no to someone's face, of watching someone's expression fall, of being the reason someone feels rejected, even when that rejection is completely reasonable. I've spent so much of my life trying to avoid causing that feeling in other people, even at the expense of my own comfort. It's something I'm still working on. And in that moment, it beat out my instincts. So I gave him my Discord. I gave it to him. And I told myself it would be fine. It's just a username. It doesn't mean anything. Maybe he'll send me a game recommendation once in a while. Maybe we'll exchange a few messages and it'll fizzle out naturally. That's what I told myself. I regret it more than almost anything I've done. The messages started the very next morning. I woke up, reached for my phone the way most people do half asleep, just checking the time, and my Discord notifications were already full. I sat up a little straighter and opened the app. 7 messages, all from Daniel, all sent between 10 p.m. the night before and 8 in the morning.
Hey, what are you up to? Did you see the new update for that game that just dropped? You should really check it out. It's pretty wild. Let me know when you're online later. We should play sometime. Hello?
I put my phone face down on the mattress and stared at the ceiling for a moment. 7 messages, sent over the course of 10 hours, to someone he'd spoken to a handful of times in a break room. Someone who had given him a Discord username, not a phone number, not an invitation to talk every day, not a signal of friendship, just a username. I told myself I was overreacting. He's enthusiastic. He's probably just like that with everyone. It doesn't mean anything. So I picked my phone back up, and I sent back one message. Short, polite, non-committal. Hey, yeah, I saw the update. Looks cool. That was it. One sentence. No questions back. No, we should definitely play sometime. No invitation to continue the conversation. Just an acknowledgement and nothing more. The conversational equivalent of a closed door. By the end of that day, he had sent me 15 more messages. 15 to my one. I didn't respond to any of them. The next day, 20 messages. The day after that, 25. The pattern was escalating, and I kept not responding, not out of cruelty, not to play games, but because I genuinely did not know what to say. I hadn't done anything to encourage this. I hadn't asked questions or started conversations or sent anything that could reasonably be interpreted as interest. I had given one polite reply and gone quiet, and he was still sending 25 messages a day. I started to feel that knot in my stomach every time I opened the app. Eventually, I stopped opening it at all. I'd see the notification number climb throughout the day and just leave it there, a little red badge on my screen that I'd scroll past without touching. I was hoping he'd notice. I was hoping the silence would communicate what I was too uncomfortable to say directly. That this wasn't what I wanted. That I'd made a mistake giving him that username. That I needed him to slow down or stop. He didn't notice. Or if he did, he didn't care. And then the messages started coming from somewhere else entirely. I want you to understand something about my gaming life before I tell you this part. Because I think people sometimes hear video games and picture something solitary, someone alone in a dark room, headphones on, disconnected from everything. And for some people, maybe that's true. But for me, gaming has always been deeply social. Just social in the way that works for me. My group, the people I play with, are some of my closest friends. We've known each other for years. Some of them I've known longer than I've known most people in my physical life. We have our own language, our own references, our own rhythms. When I log on at the end of a long shift and open the game and see their usernames already there, something in my chest just relaxes. It's my space. It's where I get to be completely myself without performing anything for anyone. It is the most private place I have. So one evening, I logged in after work. It had been a long day. I was tired, and I just wanted to play with my people and decompress. I joined the group, said hi, got into a match. And about 3 minutes in, a request popped up. Daniel wanted to join. I stared at the notification. My stomach dropped in a way I hadn't expected. I didn't accept it. I closed it. But a minute later, another one. And then because our session wasn't set to private, because I hadn't thought I needed it to be private, he found another way in. He joined a sub lobby connected to ours, and before I fully understood what was happening, he was in our group.
Hey Sarah, you're online. I was hoping I'd catch you.
My friend sent me a private message almost immediately. Who is that? A coworker, I typed back. Did you invite him? No. There was a pause. Then, do you want me to kick him? And here's where I made another mistake. The same mistake I always make. I said no. Because kicking him felt mean. Because I could hear myself explaining it to someone later. Yeah, my friend just removed him from the session and feeling embarrassed, like I'd made a big deal out of nothing. Like I'd been dramatic. No, I said. It's fine. We'll finish this round and I'll log off. And I did. I logged off early. I left my own friends, in my own space, to avoid a confrontation with someone who should never have been there in the first place. That happened more than once. He got better at it too. He'd watch the group roster, figure out when I usually came online, and time his sessions accordingly. My sister, who also plays, started pointing it out to me. He's in the menu again, she'd say. Not in a match, just sitting there. What do you mean? She showed me her screen one night. His username, in the game's social panel, status showing him as online. Not in a game, not in a lobby, just logged in, present, visible. She had checked the timestamp he'd been like that for almost 3 hours. I think he's waiting for you to come online, she said. I didn't say anything for a moment, because I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he'd just fallen asleep with the game running. Maybe he'd gotten distracted and wandered off. Maybe there was a completely innocent explanation. But sitting with that image, his username, just hanging there in the menu, for 3 hours, I found it harder and harder to reach for that explanation. And then came the game. There is one game in my library that I love more than almost any other. It's not a casual game. It's long, it's demanding. It's the kind of game that requires real investment. 100 hours minimum to finish properly. It costs $60. It is not something you pick up on a whim. One morning, I woke up to a message from Daniel.
Hey, I bought that game you love. The one you mentioned. I've been playing it nonstop. I think I get why you love it so much. We should play together sometime. I feel like it says a lot about a person, the games they love. And now I feel like I understand you a little better.
I read that message 4 times. My sister read it over my shoulder and said, very quietly, he bought a $60 100-hour game so he'd have something to talk to you about. And I realized, with a cold, sinking certainty, she was right. That's not enthusiasm. That's not coincidence. That's not someone who just happened to pick up the same game. That is someone who is paying attention to you in a way that you never asked for and never consented to. Someone who is studying you, collecting information about you, using it to build a bridge you never asked him to build. I didn't respond to that message either. I need to stop here for a second and acknowledge something. Because I've been telling this story in a way that might make it sound like everything was happening online, at a distance, in a space where I could just close an app and breathe. And for a while, that was almost true. Uncomfortable? Yes. Unsettling? Definitely. But manageable, in a detached sort of way. And then it stopped being manageable because he brought it to work. It started subtle. I'd be in my section, doing something routine, restocking a shelf, updating a display, checking inventory, and I'd look up and he'd be there, not passing through. Not on his way somewhere else, just standing a few feet away, watching me, waiting.
Hey, did you end up finishing that dungeon last night? I tried it again, but I kept dying at the second boss.
And I'd give him a short answer, one sentence, trying to be polite without being encouraging. Yeah, I got through it.
Nice. What strategy did you use? I've been trying the stealth approach, but it's not working. Maybe we could try it together sometime. It might be easier.
Daniel, I'm kind of in the middle of something.
Oh, yeah, totally. Sorry, I'll let you work.
He'd take a small step back, and I'd turn back to what I was doing, and the silence would stretch out for 5, 10 seconds, and he'd still be there. I could feel it. That particular quality of someone's presence when they haven't left. I'd glance back and he'd be looking at something nearby, pretending to be occupied but not moving, not leaving. Eventually, he'd walk away, and I'd exhale. And then, 5 or 10 minutes later, I'd look up and he'd be back. My coworkers started noticing before I was ready to admit there was something to notice. The woman who works alongside me in my section pulled me aside one afternoon with an expression on her face that I hadn't seen before. Careful, a little concerned.
Is that guy bothering you?
Which guy?
The one who keeps coming by. Daniel, or whatever his name is.
No, we know each other a little. He's just chatty. She looked at me for a moment, like she was deciding whether to push it.
He threw something at you earlier. A crumpled receipt. He was trying to hit you with it. To get your attention, I think. He missed and hit me instead. He's weird, Sarah. I don't like the way he watches you.
I thanked her. I told her I'd handle it. I went back to work, but her words stayed with me for the rest of the shift. He threw something at me to get my attention, like a child throwing a rock at someone they like. Like the rules of basic respectful behavior just didn't apply to him when it came to me. And then came the Instagram. One afternoon, near the end of a shift, he fell into step beside me as I was walking back from the stockroom.
Hey, do you have Instagram? I'd love to follow you.
I don't really use it, I said, which was a partial truth. I use it, just not publicly and not for people I don't already know well.
Oh, that's cool. What's your username, though? I'll follow you anyway, even if you don't post much.
I'd rather not give it out, I said, as clearly and directly as I could manage in the moment. I keep it pretty private. His face shifted. Just briefly a flicker of something I didn't quite have the language for yet, and then it smoothed back into that familiar practice smile.
No worries. Totally get it.
He walked away. I thought that was the end of it. 2 days later, I got a notification on my phone. Someone had followed my private Instagram account. I tapped on the notification to see who it was. It was Daniel. He had gone looking for me, searched my name, or some variation of it, gone through profiles until he found mine, and followed me, after I had explicitly, clearly told him I didn't want to share it. After I had said with my actual words that I keep it private, I sat with my phone in my hand for a long time after that. There is a particular feeling you get when someone violates your boundaries so directly and so deliberately. It's not quite anger, not yet. It's more like disorientation. Like the ground shifted slightly under your feet and you're trying to find your footing again. You start second-guessing yourself. Did I communicate clearly enough? Was I too subtle? Did he genuinely not understand what I meant? But I had used the words, "I'd rather not give it out," and I keep it pretty private. There is no interpretation of those sentences that means please search for me and follow me anyway. There is no reading of that conversation where his behavior was acceptable. He knew, he just didn't care. I blocked him on Instagram, but I didn't say anything to him about it. I still wasn't ready to have that conversation directly. I still hoped that eventually the message would land without me having to make it any bigger than it already was. I was wrong about that too. It was a Tuesday when I got really sick. The kind of sick where you wake up and your body just refuses. H's everywhere. Fever. The works. I texted my manager before dawn to let them know I wasn't coming in. And then I pulled my blanket back up and tried to go back to sleep. But for some reason, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about why I did this, I also messaged Daniel. Just a quick note. Hey, not feeling well today, won't be in. I think I was trying to be considerate. I think some part of me was still trying to manage his feelings, to preempt whatever confusion or questions might come if he showed up at work and didn't see me. I thought it was the kind thing to do. His response came back within minutes.
Oh no, that's awful. I hope you feel better soon. Is it a cold or something worse? Have you taken anything for it? Let me know if you need anything at all. I'm serious.
I didn't respond. I just wanted to rest. But an hour later, another message.
How are you feeling now? Any better?
And another, an hour after that.
Did you eat anything today? You should try to eat even if you don't feel like it. Have you been drinking water?
And another.
Seriously, let me know if you need anything. I can bring stuff over if you want. I don't mind at all.
I stared at that last one for a long time. I can bring stuff over. He didn't have my address. But the fact that the offer was made casually, like it was completely normal, made me feel cold in a way that had nothing to do with my fever. I didn't respond to any of them. I put my phone in the other room and slept. That night, when I finally checked my phone, there were more messages. And then, at the bottom of the chain, one that was different from all the others. Longer, more carefully written. The kind of message that you can tell someone drafted and revised before sending. He said that my silence was hurting him, that every time I didn't respond, it triggered something in him, something deep and painful that he'd struggled with for years. He talked about abandonment, about how, when the people he cared about went quiet, his mind went to dark places. He said he wasn't trying to make me feel bad, but he needed me to understand what my behavior was doing to him, that he'd been spiraling all day because I hadn't written back, that he just needed to know I was okay. I read it once, then again, then a third time. And I want to be honest with you about what I felt in that moment, because it wasn't simple. Part of me, the part that has spent my whole life trying to be considerate, trying not to cause pain, felt a pang of guilt. Because mental health is real. Abandonment wounds are real. I don't want to be someone who dismisses those things. But there was another part of me, a part that had been getting quieter and quieter over the past few weeks, pushed down by politeness and conflict avoidance, and the constant effort to give him the benefit of the doubt. And reading that message, that part of me got very, very loud. Because what he was describing, his spiral, his pain, his need, was in response to me not answering messages I never asked to receive, from a person I had never invited into my life in any meaningful way. He was telling me that my choice to have boundaries was causing him harm, that my silence, a silence I was completely entitled to, was something I needed to answer for. That is not how boundaries work. That is not how human relationships work. You do not get to send someone 25 messages a day and then hold them responsible for the damage done by their own silence. You do not get to insert yourself into someone's private life without permission and then claim injury when they don't welcome you in. I felt angry. Really, genuinely angry. For the first time since this had started, I wasn't confused or uncomfortable or trying to be fair to him. I was just angry. And that anger was clarifying in a way that nothing else had been. I knew, in that moment, that I had to say something directly, that I had to stop hoping the message would land on its own and actually deliver it myself, clearly, firmly, once and for all. I spent almost an hour writing the message. I wrote it, deleted it, wrote it again. I wanted to be kind, because I'm not a cruel person, and I didn't want to be. But I also needed to be unmistakably clear, because being unclear had not been working. I told him that I'm a private person, that I'd been hesitant about giving out my Discord from the beginning, that I'd been trying to be polite, but I wasn't comfortable building a friendship with coworkers outside of work, that it wasn't personal, it was about me, how I function, what I need, that I deal with anxiety, that mixing my work life and personal life is genuinely stressful for me, that I wasn't trying to hurt him. I just needed that line to be clear. I reread it twice, then hit send. He replied about an hour later.
I'm really sorry if I made you uncomfortable. I honestly didn't realize. But I don't understand. What did I do wrong? I thought we were getting along well. Can we talk about this? I feel like there's been a misunderstanding somewhere, and I want to fix it.
I stared at that for a long time. What did I do wrong? I thought about everything. The flood of messages, the game sessions, the Instagram, the lingering at work, the receipt he'd thrown at me, the offer to come to my house when he didn't even have my address, the paragraph about his abandonment issues, and his response to all of that was, "What did I do wrong?" I wrote back again. More specific this time. I told him that the volume of messages was overwhelming, that joining my private game sessions without being invited wasn't okay, that looking up my Instagram after I'd said I didn't want to share it wasn't okay, that showing up repeatedly while I was trying to work wasn't something I was comfortable with. I said all of it as gently as I could, but I said all of it. And then I waited. For 4 days, nothing happened. No messages on Discord, no appearance at my section at work. I'd come in for my shift and do my whole day, and there'd just be quiet. It was such a profound relief that I almost couldn't trust it. I'd find myself tensing up every time I heard footsteps behind me, and then slowly, gradually starting to relax when they kept going. I started to believe it was over. I told my sister. She was cautious. "Don't get your hopes up yet," she said. But I was already there. I felt lighter than I had in months. And then, on the 5th day, I was closing up a late shift. It was a Thursday night, close to midnight by the time we'd finish. Just a skeleton crew left in the store, me and maybe 4 or 5 other people scattered across the floor. The kind of quiet that settles over a retail space after hours, when the lights are half dimmed and the music shuts off and you can actually hear your own footsteps. I was out on the floor restocking a display, running through my mental checklist, thinking about the drive home, thinking about nothing in particular. And then I heard footsteps behind me, slow ones, the kind that were going somewhere and then stopped. I turned around. He was standing about 6 feet away. His expression was different from the usual, softer, almost careful, like he'd rehearsed whatever he was about to say.
Hey, I'm glad I caught you. Can we talk? Like, after your shift?
It took me a second to process what he was asking. After my shift, it was going to be nearly midnight. The parking lot would be mostly empty. He was asking me to stay after, alone, in the dark, to have a conversation. Something in my chest tightened. I kept my voice steady. "I'd rather just talk now," I said, "while we're still here." He nodded slowly, looked around the empty aisle, and then seemed to settle into it.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
He took a breath.
I've been thinking a lot about what you said. I'm sorry if I stressed you out. That was never my intention. I thought we were friends. I thought we had a connection. And when you went quiet, I didn't know what I'd done. I was confused.
I chose my words carefully. "I understand that it felt confusing," I said, "but I've always been like this. Even at my last job, I didn't build personal friendships with coworkers. It's just how I function. I like keeping those two worlds separate. It's not about you specifically."
Okay, I hear you. So we're still good at work? Like, we can still talk here?
"Yeah," I said. "Of course. At work is fine." He nodded again, smiled that same smile, wide and a little too ready, said he was glad we talked, said he felt better, and then he walked away down the aisle and disappeared around a corner. I let out a breath so long I didn't even realize I'd been holding it. The rest of the shift passed without incident. I clocked out, got in my car, drove home. I was exhausted in that deep bone-level way that only comes from carrying tension for months. But underneath the exhaustion, there was something that felt, tentatively, like relief. Like maybe, this time, it had actually landed. Like maybe the conversation at work face to face, no ambiguity, had finally made it real for him. I got home, changed out of my work clothes, made myself something small to eat, and then I picked up my phone. 3 new messages from Daniel, sent in the 30 minutes since I'd clocked out.
Hey, hope you got home okay. It was really good talking tonight. I feel a lot better. Good night.
I sat down on the edge of my bed and I just stared at the screen. We had just had a conversation, a direct, explicit conversation in which I had told him, once again, that I needed space, that I needed my personal life to stay personal. That contact outside of work wasn't something I wanted. And within 30 minutes of walking away from that conversation, he had sent me 3 messages. Not because something urgent had happened, not because there was something he'd forgotten to say, just because he wanted to, just because he felt like it. He hadn't heard me, or he'd heard me and didn't care, and I was no longer sure which of those was worse. The next morning, I logged into my game to play with my sister. Within minutes, a notification popped up. He was trying to join. I closed the game. I opened Discord. More messages, building up from overnight. I closed Discord too. I put my phone face down and sat there in the quiet of my room and tried to figure out what to do next. Because I had tried being indirect. I had tried being polite and vague and hoping the message would land on its own. I had tried being direct twice, in writing, once in person. I had tried everything that felt safe and manageable and non-confrontational, and none of it had worked. He kept messaging me in the game even after I told him I was on console, and it was genuinely uncomfortable and inconvenient to type responses there. He messaged me anyway, he just didn't stop. And I realized, sitting there, that the reason none of it had worked wasn't because I'd said the wrong things. It wasn't because my communication had been unclear. It was because the person I was communicating with had decided, somewhere along the way, that my no didn't count. I want to talk about something that I've been thinking about a lot, because I think it's important, and I think it's relevant to anyone who might be watching this and recognizing something in their own experience. There is a particular trap that a lot of people, especially women, I think, but not exclusively, fall into when something like this starts happening. And the trap is this: you spend so much energy trying to determine whether the other person's behavior is intentional that you forget to pay attention to how it's making you feel. Is he doing this on purpose? Does he realize what he's doing? Is he genuinely oblivious? Or is this calculated? Is he a bad person or just a socially awkward one? I spent weeks asking myself those questions, weeks giving him the benefit of the doubt, weeks moderating my own discomfort because I wasn't sure whether his behavior was malicious enough to warrant taking seriously. And here's what I've come to understand: it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether Daniel knows exactly what he's doing or whether some part of him genuinely doesn't understand. What matters is what his behavior has done to my life. What matters is that I am afraid to log into my own games, that I tense up every time I hear footsteps at work, that I've changed my behavior logging off early, avoiding certain areas of the store, putting my phone face down and leaving it there because of him, that I am sitting here, months into this, still trying to find the right way to make him stop. The impact is real, regardless of the intent. And the impact, in this case, is that I have lost a significant amount of peace in my own life, in my own spaces, in places that were supposed to be mine. I keep coming back to that paragraph he sent me, the one about abandonment, about his spiral, about how my silence hurt him. And I want to be clear, I have empathy for people who struggle with mental health. I have empathy for people who carry old wounds around attachment and abandonment. Those are real things that cause real pain, and I don't dismiss them. But empathy is not the same as responsibility. I am not responsible for managing his mental health by accepting behavior that makes me uncomfortable. I am not responsible for being available to someone I never asked into my life. My boundaries, my right to not respond, to have privacy, to keep my personal life personal are not symptoms of something that needs to be fixed. They are not cruelty. They are not abandonment. They are just my life, my choices, my right. And when someone tries to use their own pain as a reason why your no is not allowed to mean no, that is a manipulation. Whether they know it or not, whether they intend it or not, it is a manipulation. I wish I'd been able to see it that clearly when it first happened. I think I would have moved faster. I think I would have protected myself sooner. But I'm seeing it clearly now. And that has to count for something. I've been going back and forth about this for longer than I should have. I've made pros and cons lists in my head at 2 in the morning. I've had entire arguments with myself while I'm trying to fall asleep. I've asked my sister, asked my friends, asked the quiet parts of my own instincts. And here's where I've landed. I'm going to document everything. I've already started. Every message screenshotted, dated, saved somewhere safe. Every interaction at work written down in a note on my phone as soon as it happens, with the time and the date and exactly what was said. Every time he shows up where I am, every message he sends after being told not to, every boundary he crosses, all of it carefully, methodically recorded. Because here's something I've learned. When you go to someone in authority and tell them about a situation like this, the first thing they want is evidence, not your feelings, not your discomfort. Evidence, dates, times, specifics. And if I've been keeping that record all along, I'll have it. And then I'm going to talk to my manager, maybe HR, maybe both. I want to be honest about how I feel about that. I'm scared. I'm scared that they'll minimize it, that they'll look at a stack of Discord messages and say, well, he's just being friendly, or it's a personal matter, not a work matter. I'm scared that they'll talk to him and nothing will change except now he knows I reported him, and that knowledge will make things at work uncomfortable in a whole new way. I'm scared that this will become a whole thing. And all I ever wanted was for it not to be a thing at all. I just wanted to come to work, do my job, and go home. That was all I ever wanted. But I've come to understand something important. And it's this. My fear of reporting it doesn't make reporting it wrong. The fear and the right action aren't in conflict, they can coexist. I can be scared and still do it. I can dread the conversation and still have it. Because the alternative, staying quiet, hoping it resolves itself, adjusting my own behavior indefinitely to manage his, is not sustainable. It's not fair to me. And it sends a signal to him and to myself that this is acceptable. It is not acceptable. I deserve to go to work and feel safe. I deserve to come home at the end of a shift and open my phone without that knot in my stomach. I deserve to play games with my friends in my own space without looking over my shoulder. I deserve, at the most basic level, to have the word no respected by everyone, without exception. And if he won't respect it, then I need someone with more power than me to make it clear. So that's what I'm going to do. Not because it's easy, not because I'm sure it'll work, but because it's the next right step. And right now, that's all I can manage. One next right step. I want to end by talking to you. Not in general to you, specifically. The person watching this right now. Maybe you found this video because an algorithm sent you here and you were just curious. Maybe you're going through something similar and you were searching for something that sounded like your own experience. Maybe someone shared it with you. Whatever brought you here, I want you to know that I'm glad you're here. Because if any part of this story sounded familiar, if you felt that knot in your stomach, that constant low-level alertness, that exhausting cycle of giving people the benefit of the doubt while your own comfort keeps getting smaller and smaller, I want you to hear this. You are not overreacting. I know how powerful that phrase is, and I know how easily it can be dismissed. But I mean it with everything I have. The self-doubt that comes with situations like this is not a character flaw. It's not weakness. It's what happens when someone repeatedly, consistently makes you question your own perception of reality. When they respond to your clear communication with confusion. When they make their pain your responsibility. When they keep going after you've said stop. That self-doubt is a natural response to an unnatural situation. It makes sense that you feel it. It does not mean you are wrong. Your boundaries are not unreasonable. Your need for privacy is not a personality defect. Your discomfort is data. It is your mind and your body telling you that something is not right. Please listen to it. Please trust it. Sooner than I did, if you can. And if you're in a situation right now where someone won't respect your no, whether it's at work, at school, online, in any space, please consider telling someone, a manager, a trusted colleague, a friend, a family member, anyone. You don't have to carry it alone. You don't have to figure it out by yourself in the dark at 2 in the morning. Document what's happening. Write it down. Screenshot it. Tell people. Not because you need to build a legal case, just because externalizing it, getting it out of your head and into the world makes it real. Makes it something that exists outside of your private anxiety. And sometimes that's the first step to being able to do something about it. If you've been through something like this at work, at school, online, Anywhere I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments. Tell me what happened. Tell me how you handled it. Tell me what you wish you'd known. Because these stories matter. Your experience matters. And the more we talk about it, openly and honestly, the less power this kind of behavior has. Do you think I should have reported this sooner? What would you have done differently? What would you tell someone who's right at the beginning of a situation like mine, before it gets to this point? Because I keep thinking about that version of me, the one standing in the break room, handing over a Discord username because I was too uncomfortable to say no, and I wish I could go back and tell her something. I'm still figuring out exactly what that something is. Hit the like button if this story meant something to you. Subscribe to Office Confession for more real stories from real people, navigating work, relationships, and everything in between. This channel exists because these conversations matter. Because real life is messy and complicated and sometimes really scary, and we shouldn't have to pretend otherwise. Take care of yourselves out there, trust your instincts, respect your own no, and remember if someone keeps going after you've said stop, that is not a reflection of your communication. It is a reflection of their choices. Stay safe. I'll talk to you next time.